All right. It, there we go. A little bit of cheeky bit of music there beforehand. Was just trying out the little jukebox there on Twitter Spaces, and yeah, I got to be honest, Elon, you need to up your game, mate. I think it's all right for elevator music, I guess, but some of the vibes need updating. But there we go. How are we all doing, Florencia? How are you?
Hi, Rebel. I'm doing fine. You?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Yeah, it's Monday. Here we are again, at the start of a new week and a new epoch as well. Now into the fifth epoch of Bitcoin. How does it feel to be in the fifth epoch for you, Florencia?
I love it. I love this epoch is going to be Vendetta. So I'm thrilled and excited about this new epoch. And I'm happy that we are having our first spaces of this, yeah, new set of 4 years.
It's great. It's almost like instead of like a new year, it's a new 4 years. So if you're making like new epoch resolutions, I guess they'd be called, you know, you've got to plan 4 years in advance, kind of not just a year in advance, I guess. So it does become a bit trickier. So if you had any new epoch resolutions so far, Florencia?
I think I just said, like, please give me 4 more years of doing Bitcoin art. And yeah, I guess I will be happy if that comes true. Like, 4 years is a lot of time to think ahead. Like, I know we are low time preference people, but it's hard to make like 4 year resolutions. Did you make any?
Um, again, making Bitcoin art would be lovely. Hanging out with cool friends, Bitcoin artists, would be wonderful, and just being happy, healthy with friends and family. I guess the simple things in life. Yeah, call me a bit basic, but there we go. I'm happy with all them. So yeah. Okay, so it's block. Checking the time chain calendar now. 84037 6. And yeah, we're here tonight on the Bitcoin is Art show. So thank you very much for everyone who's in the audience at the moment, or if you're listening on a recording as well. The show is for the Bitcoin art community. So if any particular point you're in the lobby or the room or whatever you want to talk and wish to interact with either us or our guests, please put your hand up and we'll happily try and get you on and to ask questions in plenty of time. Okay, so Florencia, I'm going to hand over to you now. Uh, Here we go. You're going to introduce our guest this evening and do all the kind of show busy stuff. So I'll leave it to you.
Thank you. So we are very happy to have CA with us. Um, I've seen, first of all, hey, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you.
Very good. Did you celebrate the halving?
Yes, yes, with a glass of wine and a computer, watching everybody.
Yeah, that's the way. Um, yeah. So I know you have been around for a long time. I saw in your site that you're doing your Bitcoin art since 2017. And that's super cool. And like I would like love to start this conversation hearing more about like your general rabbit hole story maybe, and then like more into your art.
Okay, sure. First, thank you for having me. I've tried to keep myself and my work a little bit low key for OPSEC, and I like to let the art speak for itself. But with this spaces, I couldn't resist because it's for artists. So I had an art journey before my Bitcoin journey, and my art journey kind of intertwined. So my art in my before Bitcoin journey, I have a master's of fine arts from an East Coast art school, and I was always taking art classes and college level classes. I spent 6 months in Spain taking art history. So when a low residency Masters of Fine Arts came along, I had enough credits to qualify. So I always worked in substitute teaching so that I could have the flexibility to do my art. And I love substitute teaching at every level, but I did 3 months in an elementary school as an art teacher, and I said never again. I'd come home exhausted, and there's no way to do your art when you, like, you know, are exhausted like that. So I joined this Masters of Fine Arts program. It's a low residency program, which means 5 weeks in the spring and fall in residency with the other artists and visiting artists, writing papers and critiques and all of that. And then the rest of the months back at your home, still working, painting and online and writing papers. So it was a lot. At that time, I was doing figures and landscapes, and it was brutal. The critiques were hard, but what happens is they tear you down to build you back up. But the friendships I made were fantastic. So then, because I went through that program, I was able to go to a returning art residency at that program. So I did that. I was with a friend in the fall of 2017. This starts my Bitcoin journey. And we were returning art residencies. And my friend, we both had owned similar stocks. She said she was selling everything for Bitcoin. I was like, no, no, no. What is that? That was actually my second touch point, because I remember the Winklevoss twins in 2013 on CNBC getting declined for their ETF. And I'm thinking, no, no, don't sell everything for that. What is this? So I went home and did a little due diligence, bought my first Bitcoin, of course, NGU, number go up from 3 to 20. We're all excited. And then my friend talked me into going to the Dallas North American Bitcoin Conference. That was what it was called. And a North American Bitcoin Conference. I'm thinking, great. Okay. In reality, though, it was a shitcoin conference. There was so much shilling going on, too much. Every hour. Oh my God. I also had some shitcoins, but there were only a couple back then. There were ETH and Litecoin. That was about it. Maybe Bitcoin Cash. I never bought any of that. So anyway, I got home. I was so kind of disgusted. Did a little more due diligence. Back then, it was just Andreas Antonopoulos. Not many podcasts back then. So sold all of my shitcoins for a loss and just did Bitcoin only. And what helped, this is 2018 and 19, was getting to know some Bitcoin Twitter maxis. And then you get more and more conviction. And then, of course, I changed my whole style of art from landscapes and figures to I only wanted to do art that was about Bitcoin. And I had to figure out what that was that resonated with me. So by 2018 and 19, the next returning art residency, I was doing lightning paintings, which were small, like 12 by 12. Paint and lines. I'd put down the string and the paint, pull it off, add paint back in, and that was the activity of the lightning channel. So I crisscrossed the string, added paper, paint. No, not paper back then, just paint. So I had these lightning paintings back then in 2018 and 19. So I got into a crypto studios gallery in Miami and Windward. I think that was 2018 and 19, but it was a bear market. I sent down a bunch of lightning paintings. basically they went bust because of the bear market. I think Lucio Paletti was in it too. So by 2020, I'm still doing the lightning paintings. There was a Bitcoin magazine conference in 2020 that we got in, and I got my tickets for San Francisco, and I had all my paintings ready, my lightning paintings, but it was canceled because of COVID. So anyway, during 2020, I wrote out my white paper. I wrote out the white paper by hand, and then I layered paint onto it and then pulled up the string. And so there were written words and the blockchain network effects, the activity of the blockchain. And I've always loved words in art. Like one of my favorite artists was Joan Snyder. She always put words in her art. So I had those. And then at 2021, the Miami Art Gallery in Windward. It was so much fun. They gave us a corner. We set up our own art. But everybody that walked by, they were like, "What is this?" Well, they didn't get it. So I had to say, "This is the Lightning Network." But one of the highlights was having my design on a Tony Hawk skateboard that was auctioned off and signed by him. And it was an incredible conference. Ron Paul was there, and they announced El Salvador. So it was an incredible conference. And then when I got home, I was thinking, oh my God, all these people, they didn't get it. They didn't get that this was the Lightning Network. How can I be more clear? How can I, did see words written on 14 panels. It was the white paper, but they were all separate with the lines of the activity of the blockchain. They were like, what is this? So I got to thinking, how can I be more clear with my intention? And are these too decorative? I still have some of them on my website under lightning paintings. So I experimented with a new process. What I did was, I said, what can I do to make it seen and what it is, but it's abstract and it's got color and line and shape and form. So what I did was I went to Kinko's and I got a bunch of sizes of just regular copy paper, but I had to print the white paper backwards. So when I printed it backwards, I laid it down onto canvas, linen canvas paintings with glue. And so I had to tear it up very, very carefully. So some of the words you would come out, some wouldn't, because, it was just a mess at first. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd be scraping off the words. Too much would come off. I'd have to canvas and collage back in. Then I'd put the string on it. Then I'd layer the paint, and then I'd work back into it. So it was a process, but sometimes it would take weeks to scrape off the paper just the way I'd wanted to. So some words were seen, some were unseen. There was translucent paint I had to use because the regular paint was covering too much. I'd pull up the glue and it was too much. So it was all an experimentation, but I love doing it because they all come out so different. You use new colors, different colors. So when I pulled up the string, that just wouldn't be enough. I would have to work back into it. So as far as I did make the transition from realism in work to more abstract work, because I remembered a professor always telling me, when you have a tree and an alligator, that's all you see, that's all you have. But if it's abstract and this line, form, shape, color, texture, you're always seeing new things in it. So that's what I was striving for. And so then in 2022 and 2023, I was juried into the Miami conference, the Bitcoin conference. And oh my God, professional gallery space like a New York gallery. And shout out to Tommy and Dennis and Scarcity. Tommy's a great artist too, and Dennis, he curated a big time LA gallery, and it just looked fantastic. It was so professional. It was amazing. Um, and so I think so. I'll stop there. That was my journey. That's my journey, and I'm still working them. These white papers, they're not done with me yet.
Fantastic, CA. Thanks for that. Yeah, Miami conference was last year was really cool. I believe I didn't quite get to talk to you. I think I brushed past you a couple of times, or maybe even said hi. But it was just so crazy at the time. There was just so much buzz and energy around. I'm just wondering around your art, why the white paper? Why is the white paper such a core piece of your art? And your kind of visual representation as an artist. Because I went on your website earlier, and literally, if you go on the art pieces, it's just I was like, oh, there's a couple of white papers here, and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. So there is obviously something about that the white paper that really appeals to you and is represented in your art.
Um, I think because I did the lightning paintings, and at 21, everybody was coming by and just had a blank look in their face, like, what is this? And I felt it may be too decorative, and I did want to be more clear with my intention. And plus, I really love words in art pieces. We had a visiting professor in art school, Joan Snyder. She always put words in her art. And so when I first tried writing it out in the 14 panels, it didn't quite say the white paper. It just looked like bunches of words. So that's why I tried gluing down the actual white paper. And I'm like, I can make a piece of art from this. And what I loved about doing it is, like I said, they all come out different, use different colors. All the string is put down differently, so they all come out differently. But as I'm working them, I can read it. I can, learn about it too, because I'm not technical. But I feel like it's just such a good inspiration.
Yeah, I think um, it's something that calls our attention, I believe, because uh, for me and I think for Rebels art, like we tend to be very like jumping from one idea to the next one, maybe jumping from one technique. If we have to, like sometimes we don't maybe go too deep into one technique. We want to do something different. So for me, it was very special when I went into your site. First, I saw the lining paintings, and really caught my attention that the date of that, because usually people get into like more Bitcoin stuff and then lining. So that was very interesting. And also to see like the consistency you have there was for me really appealing. Like that, this is something so different as the way I approach my work, and I find it like really attractive. Like I always describe my feeling about art and Bitcoin like an obsession. I could feel that in your work too. Like every piece is different, of course, but then there is this consistency, the way you treat the white paper. Also, I was really interested in discovering like how can you mix up uh, like this abstract way of art, and then something like Bitcoin um, that is like Bitcoin is already super abstract for me. Like we try to put it down to earth, and that's why for me it comes out in images, but it's so cool to also try to combine these two things in their like kind of nature. So I would love to hear more about that. Like, did you started to do this abstract with your Bitcoin art, or was it like before, after you were like learning those landscapes and stuff like that? Like, what was it together? Like, did you when you wanted to express about Bitcoin, you also decided to change that kind of images?
Yes. If I could read from my artist statement, my philosophy, it's very short, and it goes to what I'm trying to achieve with the abstract work. So my style is to use formal value in my paintings, and formalism is a way to understand art in a different way. And formalism means that a painting is entirely determined by its form, the way it's made, in a purely visual compositional way. So, formalism means as an artist, I can choose to emphasize compositional elements like line, form, shape, color, and texture rather than realism and content. So, what I'm trying to do is make good art, not just Bitcoin art, but good art in general by emphasizing the compositional elements of line, form, shape, color, texture.
I love it.
So for you, Kat,
Perfect.
I love it as well. I think I was looking at your work there, CA, and um, for me, it's I don't know. This is my again representation of abstract art. So each to their own with it. And for me, it's when I look at one of your pieces, I see this decentralized kind of colors from all aspects just melding kind of but also separate at the same time, almost like the plebs um, around the world transacting from different parts, different cultures, but at the same time, all under one banner that is Bitcoin. I don't know. That's my personal representation of your work, and that's when I look at your work. I think it's I think it's really really cool. I think it's definitely a different take. I'm wondering for you what is Bitcoin art? We've talked about this on the show before, but what is Bitcoin art and what makes good Bitcoin art?
To see the Bitcoin art and any art in a new way, to see new things in it all the time. Like the activity of the blockchain by using the string. My inspiration was Terry Winters. He uses string in his paintings a lot. So that's how I thought I could use the string. But I guess good Bitcoin art is something that grabs you. And I try to do that by emphasizing, the line, form, shape, color, and mind. With the backdrop of these brilliant, brilliant words. And sometimes you can't read them because they're all covered up with the paint and the line and the string. But other times, they peek through. So you're always seeing new words and seeing new things in them, I think. So did that answer you?
Yeah, I don't think this is the thing. I've just been wrestling with it a lot on the show. We've talked to several artists, and it's just a case of there is no definite answer. I think, much as in kind of an abstract painting, Bitcoin art can be interpreted in so many ways by so many different people. It means different things. So I think that's a really really cool answer, and I really like what you say there around different forms, etc. I think that's really cool, and what makes us really special as a Bitcoin art community is that we've come together over one residing kind of movement, but have so many different techniques and ways to go around it.
Right. I will just say that abstract art, that's where the fun is because you're splashing around colors, lines, shapes, forms. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, some I will hate them. And I remember a professor said, you won't get through liking something until you hate it first. I mean, there's one I put a big one here so that I can kind of talk about it and look at it. It's number, let's see, it's number 60. I hated this one so much first, but I kept working it, scraping it down, adding more colors. I mean, this is when the string was off, so you have less to work with. I mean, because you don't want it to all blend into each other. You want to keep those network activity, the blockchain lines. But there's drips, I mean, it ended up to be one of my favorites. And I hated it at first. So it's a process. It's definitely a process. But that's abstract art. To me, that's where the fun is.
Love this. So before we started the show, I asked around some questions that people might like to ask you. So I got one from Jodolado, he's here with us, and Modeotech. And I think you already answered the one that was wondering about where does your inspiration come from. But we also have got questions about like how has been your experience in general, like with the Bitcoin conferences, because you have been to a lot of them, and also like what are your expectations for Nashville conference?
Um, I've loved them all, really, because of the people that you meet. I mean, I haven't been to really any except for the major ones that have the art gallery. I want to go to the smaller ones at some point, but um, 21, I have to say, was incredible because it was more intimate. I think it was just 3,000 people. And then when we went to a huge conference center, 2022 and 2023, that was just thrilling as well because it was a professional space. I mean, you walk through it and you see this big, huge volcano. It was amazing. And then that had to be 15,000 people. So, I mean, just my experiences there was fantastic. Just hanging around the gallery, talking to the other artists, talking to the people that came through, seeing some of the talks, just handing out my cards. Um, as far as expectations for Nashville, um, I had a bunch of paintings at Bitcoin Park last year, so I want to go by and visit, see if any are still hanging. Um, in Nashville, I've never been there because I am from the East Coast. So I do attend my local Bitcoin meetup, and I met two women that one's going to drive down with me, and the other one we're going to meet there because she just moved. So yeah, it's the people that you meet. It's incredible, because you have this instant connection that you love, love, love Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree with you. I remember I was also in Miami 2022, and that was very special setting. And I agree, the most important or the thing that I treasure the most about these conferences is the people you meet. Um, so much can come from one conversation. It's really amazing. But for example, would you recommend someone? For example, I live in Chile, in Latin America. So for me, it's not maybe that easy to get into these conferences. So would you say it's like, yes, I recommend you as an artist, as a Bitcoiner, or yes, like do this effort or not? Or what do you feel in general when it's a bit harder to get there?
Do you mean to get the work in or to attend?
No, both, because if I go, it's because I'm bringing work with me. So,
Right, right. Um, I'll send you a link. If anybody wants it, just DM me.
but do you recommend it?
It's a
Like,
link.
mhm.
Oh, yes. I recommend it. It's a link to submit the work to Nashville. I don't think it's totally out there, but this is my community, so I'm mentioning it.
Okay, that's very cool. So if you guys are listening now and want to submit a piece, please ask CA for this special link. And
Yes.
hopefully we can all meet there in person.
Right. And I'm sorry to miss Madeira. I sent some work over there and it got hung up at customs, but Fractal and Crypt, shout out to him. He let me be in the auction, online auction. So I know you guys were there and I'm sure that was really special and great.
Yeah. It was a really special conference. I really recommend it if people can go, if they make it next year. I think they have a special, well, what they're building there in the island is really special. So I think that's what I enjoy the most. And as you said, like connecting and the people and, well, the experience in general was so
Yes.
fun.
Yes. And the food trucks and everything takes lightning. So you just load up your wallet and you can buy drinks, food trucks, anything, trinkets, whatever, with lightning. And that is so much fun.
Yeah. So I got another question. It's a bit more controversial. Was also made by Modiotech. And it was like to know what are your feelings about NFTs, ordinals, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, just to know like your point of view about this topic.
No.
So
No. No. I never did an NFT, never will. No, I like physical art. I love physical art. Yeah, that's all I'm interested in. Yeah, I ordinals. Um, I've listened to a lot of podcasts about it, and I kind of NVK. I think he's brilliant. He says you can't do anything about it, but it's a fad. They'll get sick of losing their money, and hopefully, um, this will just all die down.
Yeah, I think that it was very interesting over the halving period, wasn't it? Looking at the kind of block transaction fees, and it going crazy for everyone to be in the halving block, and I think that was largely instigated by kind of ordinals and trying to place art on Bitcoin. What makes physical art so special for you, CA? Why do you prefer physical over digital?
Touch it and feel it. I guess that it's physical. I know that Bitcoin's digital, but the white paper is physical. Um, I have some of I have some Bitcoin art that I've gotten there at some conferences. Like I love Hitomi's work with her little sewings and her little rabbits. I have some of that. I just like the physical. As far as digital, it's like right click and copy. It's a scam. When I think of the shit coining that I used to be in Binance in 2018, and I'd be sending my Bitcoin over to Binance to buy shit coins, it's the same thing. It's don't waste your Bitcoin. Just save in Bitcoin from somebody that's, done it and lost. I feel like ordinals are the same kind of thing. NFTs are the same kind of thing. Don't hand over your Bitcoin for it. Keep your Bitcoin.
I kind of agree with you. I think it's the case of Bitcoin is not designed to be a database to hold data. In fact, it's incredibly inefficient at holding data. If you want to look at it in those terms, and the space is much better used as a ledger for transactions. I mean, you look at 4 megabytes. Even if you just wanted to store a file on there, it's crazy to do that. I mean, these days, that's almost as much. Well, remember back in the day it was 3 point something on a floppy disk or whatever it might be. So you're only getting kind of that amount of space. But on the Bitcoin time chain. So but there are the other solutions that you look for. You're obviously kind of very drawn to the Lightning Network as well, only through your art pieces, and also just in general. I'm seeing you're an early adopter as well of Noster and kind of other technologies around kind of Bitcoin. What is it around kind of the Lightning Network, etc. that made you do some of your first art pieces in the space?
Okay, so that was 2018 and 19. I was thinking, how can I, if I want to do Bitcoin art, because I started getting into it, how can I represent it, in paint, in line, form, shape, and color? How can I do that? So, like I said, shout out to Terry Winters. He's a New York artist he works with string. And so I thought the activity of the blockchain and lightning on top of it, um, I could represent it through that. But like I said, in 21, everybody was coming by and it was like, it felt like I had decorative pieces on the wall. They weren't getting it. I had to say to each one, this is the Lightning Network. This is the Lightning Network. This means the Lightning Network. So that's how I had to put the white paper into it. So they looked at it and said, oh my God, that's the white paper. It was just, my intention was more clear. And I was having just as much fun with the string and the lines and the shape and form and color.
Yeah, about that. I have like a couple of questions. It's so fun that you are actually, well, this is very original. Like you're doing this process in the way that makes sense to you, but usually people tend to use like the pop culture art. We have talked about this, that many of us, for example, tend to use like the Bitcoin be in our works or stuff like that. And like you sometimes you get away from that while you work and work more and want to I don't know, sometimes get into other messages or go deeper on whatever, but your process was kind of backwards. Like you were on doing these abstract paintings about the Lightning Network, and then this got you into using the white paper, which I think is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering, like, are there other documents that you would like to use? Because I'm thinking that there are other very awesome kind of like maybe just as important as the white paper, that could be very fun to use.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm
That's a great
thinking,
question. That's a great question because I did print backwards some Chancellor on the brink of the second bailout. So probably if you say what are you going to do in the future, and may collage some of that into it, or do that newspaper piece as a standalone piece. So I don't think the white paper is done with me. So I want to keep doing them because I love doing them, but maybe at the top, Chancellor on the brink, something like that. So you've got a combination of two.
yeah.
I think
Sorry, Rebel, you were saying?
no, go for you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Do you know?
And
Do you know? That's what Satoshi had put in the Genesis block, right?
yeah, so
Yeah.
I also, yeah, I think like there are a lot of very cool documents that I think would be, I would love to see in your work, because I think you have a beautiful aesthetic. So for me, I love when art achieves like many things at the same time. I love when you have like a message, you have intention, you have beauty. Um, I know we are all different and we follow different stuff, but I feel this about your work, so I really like it. And I would love to see, for example, I don't know, like Cypherpunk Manifest or other documents that could be very, very cool to see in your unique aesthetics.
Yes, that's something to think about for the future for sure. Yeah, for sure. Maybe when the white paper is done with me.
Yeah.
It's not done with me yet. But the one I put in Madeira was tearing up the white paper and then gluing the pieces onto a small canvas with the string intact. Now, you guys didn't get to see it because it was stopped in customs, but it was in the online auction there. And that's another way, to represent the white paper, but that's different.
Yeah, I really like that you are you keep investigating without changing too much into each piece, but they also do change a lot, and that's super fun. Um, and I was also just wanted to like tell you, I think we all face sometimes that moment of like that we have to explain our piece. Like
Mm-hmm.
people are not going to get it right away, maybe some people might, but I think that's like super normal with arts. And also it's very beautiful because that means it is open to interpretation. So if people want to know why we did what we did, and I want to know like what does this mean or whatever, we can explain it. But if you're too obvious, or things are too out there, because we can play with that too, but then it's the interpretations are going to be like smaller, like each personal world will be more like you're shutting down the other person, maybe imagination or stuff like that. So I think it's not something to be feared. I do how do you say, like I like realism, like to represent things with art. And still then you can get like a lot of interpretations, and some pieces are like very misunderstood, and some others are more obvious or less playful in a way. And I think that's fun, like, yeah. If you want to play
Yes,
without the words,
right.
there's room for that.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I tried to get away from the pieces being just decorative over a couch. Oh, line, form, shape, color. That would match my couch. Yeah.
No, yeah,
That's what
I feel
I'm
you.
trying to get away from.
Yes, it is art, not just a decoration.
Right.
That you put in the corner. I completely agree with you there, CA. I've just sat here now with my girlfriend, and I just she's obviously interested in what's going on, and I showed her one of your pieces, and she was like, "Oh, that's really awesome. Really love the color and shape and form, etc." Now she is, a bit of a no coiner. I'm quite happy to say that kind of, and I'm trying to convince her as best as possible. And shout out to all the suffering partners out
Yes.
there of, all the Bitcoiners that, struggling with some of their partners out there. I'm just interested in your thoughts on what the role of Bitcoin art is in order to kind of orange pill or on board, or just even encourage kind of discussion or ideas of Bitcoin to, I say, non-Bitcoiners, and what's our role of artists in order to kind of bring them on board.
It's probably like the same rule of art going back in time, avant garde before the rest. Bitcoin art is before the rest. So if anybody's on the fence, or they're normies coming into a conference and they're going through the art gallery, I mean, it it's got to encourage Bitcoin adoption or just learning more about it. Um, Most people at the conferences are Bitcoiners, but I'm sure, yeah, they've got their share of no coiners, and yeah, art through the ages has been just before the rest. So being a Bitcoiner, we understand that because we are before the rest. As far as orange pilling, um, yeah, if they walk through the gallery and see what grabs them, maybe they'll go home and learn more about it because we are early. I really believe we are early. Yeah.
I completely agree, and it's just the role of kind of the artist as kind of the people in society that, just through I think our very nature, kind of are looking at topics on the fringe, or kind of we're explorers, discoverers, people that see the world in a different
Mm-hmm.
way, and that I think that really opens kind of definitely when you see Bitcoin and you understand Bitcoin, it kind of opens your mind to different things. I'm just wondering why more artists aren't Bitcoiners, or maybe the other way around. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Um, it's funny because my peers that I went to school with, now I'm not on Instagram a lot and I don't have a big following, but I like to see what they're doing. So when I post my Bitcoin art, none of them give me a like ever. But I always put a hashtag Bitcoin and then I explain something about it. So maybe they'll look at it and read it and maybe go investigate and do a little due diligence. I don't know, but they're all liking each other's stuff because it's, the typical gallery stuff. But, I'm just putting my foot out there. I'm putting my art out there. I know they think I'm crazy, but these were my peers in school, you know, no coiners. So maybe they'll start reading them and do a little research. I don't know, but I'm not going to give up.
Yeah, I think there are like seeds that you throw out and just hope for the for the best.
Right. Hope for the best.
Yeah. So, hey, Rebel, before I forget, you should orange peel your girlfriend with panties for Bitcoin. uh,
Cheeky little plug there. Thank you very much. She's in the room, so she's listening now.
Oh,
Actually, Florencia.
I
So,
love panties
so
for
there we go.
Bitcoin.
and they're
Sylvia and her
amazing.
family. Yes.
CA, how much is Florencia paying you to say that?
I love them. I love them.
No, because
What a
they're,
There
great
we go.
family. What a great
yes,
family.
it is true.
Yeah, I met them
Um,
in 21. No, 22. They were there.
yeah. I lost myself with my track of thought.
Oh,
um,
Sylvia had me send a painting out to Jessica Vaughn.
yeah, I think Pablo
Yeah, the
mentioned
model
that.
for Panties of
Yeah,
Bitcoin. She had me send one out there to her.
that's so cool. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, thank you. So I was thinking that for me, the importance of Bitcoin art is from one side, you might put a seed out there like for normies, but also if someone who isn't quite convinced, for example, walks through the Bitcoin art gallery in a conference or whatever, I think there is a moment to wonder, like, wait. Is people doing art about this? Because you don't
Hmm.
go and do art about just anything. I think, well, maybe in fiat land, yeah, but like they wonder, like, why is people doing art about this? Why is there something more into Bitcoin? And I think if we get people to wonder about that, we open a door for them to look
Hmm.
why Bitcoin is so big. So I think that might be for me something really cool and important about what we do.
Right. Every movement in time has had the artists first. They were first to educate, and I feel like that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. It's so weird because sometimes I feel like I don't know enough to be educating no one, but then it's like you cannot stop and you just go out and do your best and try to keep learning and just I don't know,
Right.
play with
We
it.
just point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
I've listened to so many podcasts while I do my work, but while I do my art, so many. But I have a list of, sites and YouTubes like Bitcoin University. If anybody wants to learn, about it in depth, I mean, I can tell them the surface stuff, but not being technological, so yeah, I point them in the right direction.
Yeah, it's the same.
I think we've all got our ways, isn't it, of kind of disseminating kind of information, and sometimes it's visual, sometimes it's audio long form, and as Bitcoin artists generally, not always, we generally use visual means. There's obviously other ways out there as well that Flo and I were discussing the other day. So in terms of some perhaps music artists video, we had Shooter on a couple of weeks ago as well. We've been talking about having the Bitcoin wine person as well, so getting even the taste senses as a way of kind of orange pilling Bitcoiners. But I think you're right, and I think in terms of us as artists, you kind of just got to be a bit vulnerable, put yourself out there, put your message out there, and then hopefully uh, and then you can point people in the direction of the kind of the reference material afterwards. But I think it's a beautiful thing about Bitcoin art. It's not it's a snapshot in time, it's a journey. Not only are you taking uh, the person who's viewing the art on a journey, but also as an artist, you're going on a journey and going through the motions and exploring this incredible, new, wonderful technology that is going to change the world. So I'm really grateful to be on it. If anyone, by the way, this is an open room. If anyone wants to ask any questions to Carol, we've got a few. I've got 5 or 6 minutes left, so if you want to come up and ask any questions, you just add a request as a speaker, and we'll get you up on here as best as we can, and have a chat with us. So CA, with what are your hopes now for the future, and where are you now going with your art, and what do you want to do next, and where do you see Bitcoin art in the coming years?
Like I said, the white paper is not done with me, so I think I'm going to take some of these lightning paintings and tear up the white paper and glue them on in different places where the string separates for the network effects. I think that's one of my next things I want to try. Maybe different sizes of these. I mean, the biggest one I've done is 24 by 36, but maybe something bigger. I hate when someone will say, "Oh, that's a great poster." I'm like, "Oh, a poster." No, they're not posters. It takes me 2 weeks to scrape up the paper, and leave those words if I can. Um, and if I screw up, I have to collage back in. I mean, they're very time consuming. So, no, they're not posters. So, yeah, I'll work on some more of those, and then some more of the lightning papers, collaging back in. And like Florencia said, maybe explore some different messages. I have the Chancellor on the Brink, what do you call, newspaper? Maybe do one of those and see what that looks like. Yeah, all for next year. So, yeah.
That's fantastic, and that sounds like a really cool way of going forward. We've just got Cypher who's popped up. Cypher, the floor is yours, my friend.
Hey guys, what's going on? Great show, and really love to hear you, CA, talking about your work. It's it's amazing when you've seen like an artist and you've seen their work for so long and it's popping up and you're like intrigued and it's there. But I feel like it's until you actually kind of make that real connection and you hear someone talking about their work that you really kind of actually you realize how much you love the work in the first place. I feel like it's that human bond that we always have to remember, which is I think maybe hard for artists in the Bitcoin space because obviously we're so digital, but actually the real bonds where the art magic really happens is when people start seeing your stuff and knowing who you are and talking. And I think that's really me personally. I mean, I've just been looking through your work again, and yeah, so many stand out. I mean, technically, I feel like I missed the first maybe 10, 15. So I was just wondering if you feel like explaining. I'm just curious how you do the lines and how you kind of compartmentalize the colors. Like, can you talk a bit about that process? Yeah.
Sure. After scraping off all the paper and then just leaving the words, that takes about 2 weeks for each one. Then I'll string it up with string it up with string, and try to make all the string go all different ways each time. And then I'll add the paint. At first, I was using paint that was too covering, so I had to move to translucent paint so that you could see the words through it. And then at first I was pulling up the string after the paint. It was like pulling up the canvas too, the linen canvas I had on it. So I had to change that to a thinner paint. So the activity of the blockchain and the lines that they represent, that's done with string. So then I can compartmentalize the colors. And shout out to Terry Winters. He's an artist, if anybody wants to look him up. He's a New York artist. He's one of my favorites, and he uses string a lot.
Nice, awesome. I literally would have never worked that out. So I obviously missed when maybe you explained that. That's so cool. And I just wanted to say I love what you were saying about on the controversial topic, as Flo mentioned, the NFTs and ordinals. And obviously tying back to kind of one of Rebel's big questions of kind of what makes Bitcoin art, like what defines it. And I think for me, it seems it's becoming clearer because I think really it comes down to an artist that sells or is willing to sell their work for Bitcoin. I think immediately the art is Bitcoin, and it doesn't have to be about Bitcoin. But I feel like the fact that the artist is doing that, it makes it Bitcoin art. And I think, again, something was talked about earlier about other artists coming in, like bringing in the outside artists into Bitcoin. I think the fact that we're all here making art in whatever form, I think other artists are starting to kind of wake up a little bit. I mean, I'm sure some will be slow, just like all of society. But as you were mentioning earlier, kind of the artists are the trendsetters and kind of coming up with these ideas. So yeah, I think that was where I'm. But yeah, I love to hear that you were like, nah,
Thank
none
you
of
for the
that shit, no
question.
NFTs, no ordinals.
No. I'm all about process. I love the process of gluing messy. I mean, some are just like it will never work, so that's gone. Then another one, you've got to spread it evenly, gluing it down, scraping it back off with like a wet sponge, taking off too much, not taking off enough, collaging back in, then stringing it up, then putting the paint on, then taking off the string, and then working back in. It's all a process, and that's all a
how did you get the
physical
string? Sorry.
process. Yeah.
How did you get to the string in the first place? Like, what was the connection? Can you even explain it? Like, initially, why it came?
One of my peers said to me, "Oh, that's the activity of the blockchain." And I said, "Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's the activity of the blockchain." But the string came from just looking at other artists, and I love Terry Winters. He's a New York artist. He uses string a lot. So that's how I got the idea for the network effects.
I think it's a really cool representation of the kind of the how kind of Bitcoin not only connects us in digital forms and transactional forms, but also in our moralistic standpoints as well. I think it's such a cool way of going about things. We are coming up to the hour now, so I think we're gonna finish the conversation here. CA, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate your insights into art and the way you go about art, and as a kind of a very a pleb in terms of when it comes to art. I definitely haven't gone through an art education. I just kind of picked up a spray can initially and started doing stuff. It's been very insightful into the different ways of thinking, making art. So I really appreciate your contribution and coming on this evening and sharing it with us.
Thank you so much for asking me. I really, really appreciate being asked.
Anytime. You know you're part of the Bitcoiners Art Club now, so you're more than welcome back anytime.
Thank you. I will be joining for sure.
Thank you very much. Okay, Florencia, have you got any final words or anything, any kind of tidbits other than advertising panties for Bitcoin?
Girls got 8. No. Yes, thank you so much for joining us, for letting us know more about your work, your process. It's so amazing because when I saw your piece in real life, it's really like I could notice that things were added and then removed and added, but I couldn't figure the process out. So it's so cool to hear you talk about it and to learn more about your history here. And yeah, so just wanted to thank you so much, and also thank everyone who joined us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks to everyone listening, and I hope you go now and have like the most creative week. And
thank you. We'll see you all in Nashville.
Hopefully.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back same time again next week, discussing Bitcoin is art. We'd love to join us then. If there's any guests you would particularly recommend to be on the show, for us to have a discussion, please just DM myself or Florencia, and we'll do our best to try and get them on, to bring their Bitcoin art story and their art to you. Until then, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you. See you.
Bye. Thank you.